From one of Australia's former leading homicide detectives, this is I Catch Killers with Gary Jubelin.
I'm going to read out what you said there. I was tipping some water from the bucket over my head when 5 guys stormed in. I tried my best fighting them off, hitting one Cambodian in the throat and smashing another one's head against the concrete wall. But there was too many of them. Eventually they pinned me down to the filthy wet floor. 2 guys holding my hands and 2 guys holding my feet while the 5th Cambodian raped me.
I Catch Killers with Gary Jubelin.
And welcome back to part 2.
Thank you.
Of I Catch Killers. I'm digesting some of the things that you're saying, and I look at you, I sit here looking at you, and we talked off camera a little bit during the break, and how intimidating an environment that would have to be.
Yeah. Like I said, words can't describe. It's very hard to, deal with everything.
And I would imagine the emotional angst about what the hell am I doing in here? When am I going to get out? You just don't know how long this nightmare is going to go on for.
That's true.
Now, in jail, you had to fight.
Yeah, plenty.
How many fights would you estimate you had?
10?
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe, well, there's a few kind of scuffles, but
Yeah.
probably 10 probably good ones.
Were you a physical bloke before you went there? Were you...
I was weighing, 78 kilos. I'd done a little bit of boxing
Yeah.
through my childhood with a few fellas from the beaches and stuff.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I was a professional boxer, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I could handle myself to a degree.
Okay, so you could invoke some aggression where you needed to
Yeah.
stand up for yourself.
And I had a fair bit of aggression because of my situation, so I could draw on that.
Why are you so angry, Ian? Why are you so angry? Yeah, just let it go.
Yeah,
I honestly, mate, I don't know how you survived. I'm sitting here and I'm looking at, we've had people on that have committed crimes that they know they're going to get, if they get caught, they're going to get lengthy sentences in foreign prisons and different things. But we're talking, at the worst, it's damage to an ATM machine.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, after meeting you, if I go across, whenever I'm overseas, I'm going to be very kind to ATM machines.
I wouldn't be going to Cambodia.
Okay. Well, look, we make light of a situation that's so far from light, but I think sometimes you've got to find that brightness in the darkness, or you can't survive.
Yeah, well, I've had that from good advice of people that you've just got to move forward and. Yeah, and look, again, I said earlier, you either laugh or you cry.
Yeah.
And I've done me crying, and I'm sitting here laughing, but I'm not on the inside.
No.
It's just it's one of those responses, isn't it? Like a nervous laugh, or
Oh, it's a way of dealing with it. You said to me, and you mentioned in part 1 that you saw 11 people die in the prison, and there's one that you wrote about in detail, and I just want to read that out and then ask you some questions about that. And you're describing this particular death of an inmate. They handcuffed this Thai guy to the bars at the back of the cell, all because he was sick and needed to keep using the bathroom. They then took it in turns, kicking the absolute shit out of him. This must have lasted at least an hour. When they finally stopped and removed the handcuffs, this guy was so scared to move that he just pissed and shit himself in the back corner. The next morning, he had died.
Mm.
So we're talking here about witnessing someone being...
beaten to death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know why he was being beaten?
Because he was using the bathroom too much, because he had gastro.
Right.
And couldn't get any help. And that's why I was in the hospital. So that's in the hospital now.
And that was a good part. That's where you paid extra to get.
I paid $1,000 US to get into the hospital, so the room would only be full of 30 people.
Yeah.
But they'd be there was only 6 people in the room all the time, but then patients would come in and out.
Right. Okay.
And so he'd come in because he'd had bad gastro, and just had to keep using the toilet. but two of the guys worked at the hospital.
Yeah.
So they had a pair of handcuffs in the cell for that purpose.
Right.
Yeah.
What was going through your mind watching this?
I wanted to stop it.
Mm.
I couldn't believe what I was watching. It's very confronting, and you feel bad because the way that someone would treat another human being, it's just it's beyond me, you know. Like I just remember that him screaming as well, stop, you know, and they just taking turns and laughing like it was some kind of evil game, you know. The more he pleaded, the more they belted him and kicked him. I think it lasted longer than an hour, to be honest, you know. Like, and then they'd look at one another and go, oh, look what I can do next, and kick him in the ribs, and you know, another guy would just slap him across the face at one, and like to make him flinch, and you know, they had, yeah, it was pretty full on, like, and you know, the next day the guy's dead in the morning.
And just laughing while they're doing it.
Yeah. It's it's a crazy place to be. You know, I just, so many things I saw that people should never see, really. You know, yeah. I could go on and on.
Oh,
I mean, seriously.
I know, and I've just there's so many things you can pull out of what happened to you in prison. When you reached out to me, you wanted to tell the story. You want people to understand the dangers and all that.
Yeah.
Let's not be naive when we think there's justice and humanity in the world. Some places you find yourself that's so far from it. You and I checked with you before. I raised this, but you also detailed the account when you were gang raped
Yes.
on one of the times in the prison. I just get, if it's okay with you,
Yep.
and I'm going to read out what you said there, and then I'll let you comment if you need to comment or feel to comment. But I'm also mindful that since being released from prison and coming back to Australia, that you're getting treatment for the traumas and the things that that happen. So if any point in time you want me to stop or we change the subject, feel free.
It's okay.
I was tipping some water from the bucket over my head when 5 guys stormed in. I tried my best fighting them off, hitting one Cambodian in the throat and smashing another one's head against the concrete wall. But there was too many of them. Eventually they pinned me down to the filthy wet floor. 2 guys holding my hands and 2 guys holding my feet while the 5th Cambodian raped me. My face was pushed into the concrete. I was helpless to do anything. Words can't describe what I was thinking. In the end, I just tried to block everything out of my mind. Nobody came to help me. I'll never forget how it made me feel. And just one other aspect, and that was the first of 4 times I was raped in prison. Sitting here now writing this, I feel a sense of numbness. Those men have taken something from me that can never be returned. I just remember leaving the shower with my backside bleeding, putting on my pants and sitting on the cell of the floor, staring at the ground in shame. I don't know what to say to that. What?
It's how literally how I wrote that down is how it pretty much happened and how I felt. You know, you feel guilty. You know, I never asked for that. And the shame that I could still feel the wetness on my face, the bathroom floor. I can still smell the smells of the sewage, you know. And just having to pick myself up like some, you know, like used up piece of meat, put my pants on and sit back in a corner, and life goes on. You know, they just keep doing what they're doing. Nothing gets said. Nothing gets. You get the occasional look, but there's no. Are you okay, mate?
There's no humanity.
No. It's almost like they look at you as like, oh, I'm glad it wasn't me this time.
Yeah.
You know.
That's what they've created in an environment like that. It's well, when I say interesting, maybe not the right word, but look at what humans can do to other humans. No wonder the world can be a fucked place at times.
Yeah.
When you got people that do that.
Yeah.
And yeah, we've talked about it, and you mentioned there you feel guilt and shame.
Yeah.
Mate, I say this to you: you've survived.
Yeah.
You survived. So you've got it over them. The low lives that do that to you.
Yeah. And that's why when I wrote that down, I said I could talk about the other ones, but it doesn't really help me.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you wanted to seriously talk about the other ones, I would, but it doesn't help me. Just to know about what you've just read out, it's pretty much the same feelings with the others.
Yeah.
Apart from the one with the guards, because I used to come in and just drag people out. They'd get drunk and come in and drag a person out, take them to their quarters.
Yeah.
So that you know, that and that there were pretty horrific. You know, I mean, they're all horrific, but you do become a bit more numb to it. You know, I'm still pretty shook up because I haven't read this transcript back since I wrote it.
Yeah.
You know, pretty much. I had glanced over it today, but that's it.
Yeah.
To hear it again just brings back all the memories. Just keep flooding back. You know. Yeah.
Powerful words, and
yeah.
Yeah.
I was just.
You're getting help for it. You're saying that.
Yeah, it was funny. The sexual trauma counsellor said to me, you know, when we wrote it all out to send off to you and hopefully to the Human Rights Commission as well and things like that, that when I was in the police station leading up to going into the prison, I was talking in first person. And then when I get into prison, I'm talking in third person. And I'm not an author, you know, I'm or creative writer, you know, but she picked up on that and she said that's a sure sign of trauma and how you perceive, you know, how to deal with things, like you're removing yourself from stuff. And I guess that's, you know.
Makes sense.
Yeah, you know. But the thing that really makes me angry is that I never asked for any of this. I never once, you know, like, I did nothing wrong. Even if you've done something wrong, nothing like this should ever happen to you.
100%.
You know, it takes your dignity away. You feel so much shame and so much guilt. Why couldn't I have just fought a bit harder? You just can't. There's 5 guys. Some of them can kickbox.
Yeah.
You know, they're not all just little skinny Cambodians. There's guys in there doing life. They're never getting out, you know. That they don't care if they kill someone, because what are they going to do? Give them another 20 years on their sentence? They're not getting out anyways. It's one of those situations. And there's so many of those guys in there. That's what makes it a scary place too. And the guards don't do anything about it, because they could kill a guard and what's going to happen? They'll probably end up getting killed themselves, but it doesn't matter to them, you know. And there's so many of them in there that are doing life. Yeah.
And you can't report it to the guards. As you said, one of the rape situations involved the guards.
Yeah. Mate, I think I mentioned to you too, the lady boys, they got it the worst.
Yeah.
You know, the ones that were taken in, well, whatever they were doing, they were getting done for prostitution, ties, Cambodians, all that.
Yeah.
That would be nightly, and not just once a night. 5, 6, 7 times, just depending on how many guards were drinking. They'd gamble, they'd drink, and then they'd just go around and
Just pluck prisoners out.
pluck prisoners.
It's disgusting.
It is.
Yeah.
You know, and then there's so many other things, you know, like that I want to say about different things. Like if you don't bring them up, I want to get them across.
Well, there's 10,000 prisoners in there, wasn't there?
And another great point. It's built for 4,000. 4,000. That's how many's meant to be in that prison. There's over 10,000 in there. So when I'm talking about 400 in a cell, it's 400, and it's not a big cell. You know, people are squashed up against the bars.
Yeah.
You know, there's one toilet or maybe two if you're lucky. A shower where you've got a bucket of green water that's got mosquito larvae and, you know, dengue fever, and you're using that to shower.
Yeah, just the threat of diseases and
Every
that.
disease, you know.
Yeah.
Like COVID. All the main and every STD under the sun, but all the main ones. Some of the ones I don't think we've even got much in Australia anymore. You know, like guys with what's the one where you cough up the blood?
Tuberculosis.
I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's very contagious.
Yeah.
And then it's like you start coughing, and then you're coughing up blood, and then that's, you know, and that's very contagious. And all these other things, obviously scabies and golden staph rife through everywhere. You know, I was covered in it.
Yeah.
Absolutely covered.
So it was all over you.
Everywhere. And bed sores from laying on the ground on the concrete for too long.
Yeah.
Like your hips. They start getting lumps in your hips and either side, you know.
You wrote in your transcript there about the mattress that was up with all just the wire and torture, as in electrocuting people.
Yeah.
Describe that and what you saw there.
Well, just to put it briefly, there's 6 or 8 cells. That's the hospital, basically, and then where they do the surgeries over here, and they administer their medications.
Yeah.
Down the other end was this room, and it had a small room, smaller than this, and it just had a bed, but the springs of the mattress in it.
So all the material in that
all
taken
gone,
out.
all
Just
gone.
the
Yeah, and there was a few bars on it. One can only think, you know, what was going on there.
Yeah.
You know, and the way, and in the hospital too, you're dealing with people that are clearly have got severe mental health issues that should be in care, real care, that are going around and, you know, bashing people, but then 10 seconds later wouldn't even know they've done it, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's crazy.
You got stabbed.
Yeah.
Tell us about that incident and what happened.
Well, I had an altercation because, like I said, there's all these laneways and nooks and crannies, so there's not a lot of cameras. You know, it's not like, you know,
They wouldn't want cameras there.
No, of course not. They only put them in the areas where the people come in and see who fund, you know. So I had an altercation with one guy, and as he's come up and just kicked me in the arm like this. Nearly busted my arm. His mate, do you mind if I show you?
No, this is a...
Yeah. See that?
Ah, right. Yeah, okay. That's where he stabbed you, right under the ribs.
You can feel that. There's a hole there. Look. See that?
Yeah.
No, that's... He sharpened up a piece of Perspex pipe.
Yeah.
And just... So the other guy's kicked me. He's come up from underneath and got me. So there's 2 on me. And then I didn't really, because it got jammed in between my ribs. Yep. So I'm quite fortunate that he, you know what I mean.
Well, it didn't get a vital organ.
Yeah, it got stuck in there, and then I just kept going, and then it kind of dissipated, and then I pulled it out, and there's no way I was going to the hospital. No way, It was, it was, there was no doctors at the hospital, not one.
Yeah.
It was all prisoners doing procedures.
So how'd you treat yourself? Because feeling that wound, that's a significant wound.
I got, some guys, like there's a Belgian guy, there's a Filipino guy, they were saying put this stuff on it, and they had some stuff. So, the foreigners all kind of stuck together.
So there was that smidgen of humanity in there with the
foreigners,
guys.
Yeah. Well, it's almost like us against them.
Yeah.
And that's how it was for quite some time. And one of the Nigerians even said that to me. He said how he approached me after he'd known I'd been raped, and he goes, "How are you travelling?"
Right.
And I said, "Oh, not good." He goes, "Mate, just remember this, it's us against them."
Yeah.
I think that was the first time I had my first cigarette.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't blame you.
Yeah. And then I used them as currency, because that's what you do,
Yeah.
to get some food or something.
So what was your lowest point in the time that you're in prison?
Oh, I mean, obviously the rapes, sexual assaults, are pretty hard to deal with.
Yeah.
You go into a pretty bad depression.
Yeah.
You don't want to talk to anyone. You get some foreign guys, like there was a friend, well, I called him a friend because I was someone I could confide in. He'd come up and go, "Mate, I know what's happened," and you try and remove yourself from people, which is a bad thing, because then you go into a dark place, and then you start thinking, well, maybe I'll just try and escape and they'll shoot me, or if you end up doing if you start doing some stuff that really puts their nose out of whack, they'll put you in this place called the dark room for 30 days, and it's just a dark room with the most crazy people in there that that aren't getting out, and they'll supply them methamphetamine, whatever. They don't care. It's like a zoo, in that room. There's no clocks. There's no nothing. Everything you buy, if you want a bottle of water, it's 10 times the price, so no one can afford anything. I know of people, the Nigerian guy, Chika, he bought his way out of there.
Yeah.
He was only in there a couple of days, and he says, you're just in a corner. You can't see anything. All you can see is people lighting lighters, smoking ice. It's completely black. You know what I mean? And he said he was just, there's a guy jerking off next to him, doesn't care.
Yeah.
Like he's going, fuck, get away from me. But that's the least of his problems,
And just when I didn't think you could surprise me anymore,
mate,
the dark room.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to picture it. So all these crazy people or whatever in there in a pitch black room.
Yeah.
And you're just thrown in there.
Yeah. No clocks, no nothing. 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days. There was guys in there months and months.
How do you keep your sanity?
You don't.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's what they want. That's how they break you. If you want to muck around real bad, they just chuck you in there, Or if you get caught with something, like it's such a corrupt place that they supply all the drugs, the phones, because people buy it off them. Then they'll get an independent organisation like the police from the outside would come just out of the blue and start raiding sections, like, they're going through Block H today, and just going in there, and then they find a phone. Who's this belong to? Oh, it's that Chinese guy. Beat the crap out of him, give him another 3 years on his sentence.
Yeah.
And then the same guard, 2 weeks later, selling him back that same phone. Or drugs or whatever else it was, moonshine. There was plenty of everything going on in there, everything. Guys were walking around with monkeys, with the real rich guys. There was a guy walking around with like a spider monkey,
pet monkey
on his shoulder. There was guys who had like massive boa constrictors in tanks. There was lots of different birds and things like that people were allowed to have and keep because they paid big money. They're paying like $1,000. The VIP cells, they're paying $1,000, $1,200 US a month, and they could get any luxury they wanted, And the guards would go in there and drink with them. Even the senior guards, would go in and drink with them. They'd have girls brought in. They could have anything they wanted, And those guys weren't getting out. They knew it. So I was like, well, I've got millions of dollars. I'm just going to make the best of it. Yeah.
Did you have concerns when you're in there that, you've got this minor charge that you're fighting that one would hope you're not going to get years sentenced to? Did you have concerns that you'd be loaded up with another charge or defend yourself and injure someone or end up charged and
Yeah, definitely.
rotting there for the rest of your life?
Definitely. Well, my charge at one stage was 3 years. 3 years, that was going to be the charge.
Yeah.
For damaging a piece of property.
Yeah.
You know? And I fell in to protect my head and my hand hit the glass like that. And but I was all over the shop, because I've been drugged.
And I said here, I wouldn't care if you ran up and kicked the ATM.
No, well,
or attacked it with a baseball bat.
Funnily enough, that's what they said in court when I went to court. The first time they said to me I tried to steal the ATM machine, right? Pick it up physically. It weighs more than me.
Well, you grew up around the Northern Beaches. There was a spate of ATM robberies, machines. Maybe I'm missing the point. But
and then I said to them, "Can you show me the footage?" Then they brought up the next time I was in court. Oh, you're trying to attack it with an iron bar. Bring it. You just remind me. Bring up the footage. Then what was something else? Oh, look. Then they brought out the photos. These were the best. The photos of me with my hands on the buttons and stuff. I was like, yeah, that's because I'm trying to withdraw money.
Like you got to touch the glass.
Yeah. Or you got to touch the buttons as well.
Did you get a sense it was just what can we extort out of you?
Yeah. They call it the land of wonder.
Yeah.
It should be called the land of extortion.
Yeah.
Because that's what they do. From the top down.
Right.
And I'm not mucking around when I say that. That's
Like the fact that they had it released in the paper straight away as this heinous crime, the heinous crime that you've committed, and you still wander around as a tourist and don't change your flight or make any effort to.
No, if I'd have done something bad, the first thing you'd be doing was getting to the border of Thailand and getting across.
Yeah.
Or Vietnam. Yeah. Or Laos. You wouldn't be hanging around checking out the sites.
No, it doesn't quite add up.
No, it doesn't.
The money that your ex-partner was sending to you, you've credited that with saving your life. What sort of figures are we talking about? How much does this whole experience, Ian's excellent adventure in Cambodia, cost?
$120,000 US.
Yeah,
that was pretty much all my mum's inheritance that she'd left when she passed.
Right.
Yeah, and there's shame and guilt attached to that too.
Yeah.
But my sister told me one thing that was important when I was feeling really low about that. She said, "Look, if Mum was still alive, she would have paid that to get you out." But yeah, it was and the way they did it as well. You're bribing everybody. It's not just one person.
Did I read it right at one point in time when you could pay this much money and you'll be released? This is the advice you're getting. But if you can't pay that much money, you'll get charged with bribing a...
What it was that they sent a figure.
Yep.
Their lawyers sent a figure.
Yep.
Saved 8,000, I think it was the first time. So if we sent 8,000 straight away, they'd send it back and we want 15. Send 15, we want 25, and so on. Just kept on going up and up and up. Yeah. So my initial charge I would have been in there for 3 years, and then I said to my lawyer, I said, "We're not a wealthy family. We can't just keep chucking money, throwing money around. We're not rich, We did have extra money, but we weren't trying to tell her that at this stage. That's another thing where you feel all your you just get depleted again. It's like another, it's like you're just you think you're making inroads and they knock you back down. Lots of prisoners inside there said you never leave Cambodia. You never ever leave Cambodia. And that's so true. I didn't believe it until I actually got out, how much harder it was just to get out of the country.
Once they got you, they're going to keep you.
Yeah, they keep you. Yeah. Yeah, and then, you're not just bribing judges, you're bribing guards, you're bribing everyone, just to, my lawyer was ringing my ex-partner and saying, "Oh, we're going to need extra money for this." And she was handing it over thinking that I was verifying it because we couldn't always have communication. Yeah. And then, You know, the embassy would charge me money when they brought money in for me.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you say if you got $200 US, the first couple of times you come in that gate, they pat you down and just take it.
Yeah.
You know?
I wondered that when you get money, how you hang on to it. Where's it kept? And you had said that when you got food or water or that, quite often you just drink it all, eat it all, because it was going to get taken off you anyway.
Yeah, well, if you went back to the captain goes, why didn't you buy the water off me?
Yeah.
Or cigarettes or food. Food he was a bit easy going on with, because they would kind of understand that we couldn't eat their food.
Yeah.
Kind of. Mind you, they were farming catfish and giving you maggot-ridden rice, you know, and growing a few vegetables that were sprayed with toxins, you know, and it was growing on top of the sewer. Yeah. And that's another thing, that the smell of the sewer was there the whole time. Like, it's the rainy season, for example, the place just floods, you know, snakes everywhere, place floods. Generators go out, the fans stop working, there's no light. Don't you think it starts kicking off then? Yeah. Prisoners just fighting each other in the dark. No one's going to know what's going on.
It's like gladiator school.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. They're like the king cobra swimming in, you know?
Someone caught it, killed it.
Like a whip.
It cracked
it.
It.
Like picked it like he's a farmer.
And then
an older Cambodian guy. Yeah, just picked it up on the tail, went crack, and then he was eating that the next day. But they eat anything. Anything they can get their hands on. Dogs, everything.
Even when the negotiations got to the point, like I'm not even going to break down the court matter, and I've got all these emails here, and I brought them in. I was going to dissect some of them, but they're emails, communications and text messages and different things between yourself, your partner, and the consular admin and the embassy. What comes across in all of these is how desperate the situation was. It was just frustration. Frustration is felt in every page, and then it's all tidied up. Oh no, Ian's doing fine. We're working to get him out, but it didn't seem to be any progress whatsoever. And there was nothing that was okay. You've got to get to this. If you plead guilty, or this is going to happen. It was always ambiguous what was going to happen, what the next thing was.
We're bound by Cambodian law.
Yeah, you made the point too that when embassy officials or a consular officer came out, there was always a Cambodian with you, with them the whole time, just making sure that you never felt safe, that you could tell someone from the Australian consul, this is what the shit that's going down, because you've got someone there listening.
That, and also that she was watching her too.
Yeah.
Because then she would, because they'd go away and have conversations.
Yeah.
Because they don't want the prison to look bad. So they'd lose funding. And that funding goes to trickles down from the top CEO of the prison all the way down, or the general, or whatever you want to call him. Because that's how they run it, like an army.
We're naive, or I think I'm naive. I often wondered, what clout an Australian citizen has been arrested abroad, but it just shows how limited it is, depending on where you've been apprehended.
Yeah, it's getting out. The worst part, one of the worst parts was when you get to your last month, you have to go and take your photos for Interpol.
Yeah.
So they take photos of your tattoos, they take your face, obviously, and what you look like. You got your name, you got your board up. But that sends a signal to every other prisoner that you're getting out.
Yeah. Within
a month. And if someone's in there for 25 years to life, they just want to cause trouble for you, because they want, to see you get more time. And it's almost like a jealousy thing too. If I can't get out, he shouldn't get out.
Why should he? He's no better than us.
Yeah. So I had to avoid people like the plague for that last month, which I managed to do. But I think it was Chika, the big Nigerian guy, helping me there.
He was putting in the word or keeping an eye out.
Yeah, he was really good fella.
But that must be so hard. Like, here it is, freedom. It's dangled in front of you, but knowing that you're at a higher risk at that point in time.
Yeah, it was tough. very tough. You know, after everything that was going on, the guys still tried to fight and stuff. I don't know. We got diffused pretty quickly.
You tried to step away from it. And just
Yeah, well, there was occasions where you had to just kind of hurt someone pretty quickly too.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, make it so that no one's always, you know.
He just fell over.
Yeah, or something like that.
Unbelievable. When did you actually find out that you got a date and that you were being released from prison?
Well, that's an interesting story in itself. The guards used to tell me I was getting out tomorrow. Paperwork's coming tomorrow.
Just to play with you?
Play with my emotions. And that went on for a few weeks. Then it finally came, and I can't remember what time. It was early afternoon. And then they all, as I wrote in the transcripts, they all stood there with their hands out, like as if and wanting money, as if that they'd done me a favour. Thanks for
thanks for looking after me, guys.
Yeah, 100%.
Fuck that.
Yeah. And then on the way out, every guard on the way out as well. So and then I find out, I was told time and time again, once you get out of prison, you're going home.
Yep.
And then I find out that I've got to spend another 3 months there.
Explain that.
Well, I was told by the Australian Embassy over in Cambodia that once I got out, I'd be released. I'd receive my passport back and my luggage back. To the point where I actually went to the courthouse and paid $200 US to get that in process. And then my lawyer was even too worried to come and see me. She rang me and said, I said, well, what's happening with the courts? When am I get my passport back? I want to go. I've got my family to go and see. I've got my boy to go and see, When am I going home? Oh, there's a couple of days, and just kept on going like that. I said, what's going on? And she goes, by law, Cambodian law, they've got 3 months to the right of an appeal. It's like, I bribed all these people. What? How can you appeal that? And then
So you had to remain in Cambodia for 3 months after you'd been released from prison?
Yeah.
Because they might or might not lodge an appeal?
Yeah. And they still have my passport and all my luggage at courts. Yeah. So I'm still walking around and then pretty much the same clothes as I had on when I left prison, which is filthy. And
I would imagine if you did anything wrong, you would have been straight back in
prison. Yeah. That was the scary thing. But I went straight over because I was still at that stage. At that stage, I just moved into the apartment straight across the road from the Australian Embassy.
Yeah.
So I've run down there and knocked in there and said, what's this about? You told me I was going home. They knew the law. They knew that there was 3 months I had to stay longer, but they told me differently otherwise.
Why would they do that?
I don't know. But, that's something that I'd like to, discuss further with the right people, because them saying that to me, and then saying again, we're bound by Cambodian law.
Yeah.
The only thing they ever did for me was write me a stat deck, which they were they weren't very keen on doing that. I asked them for other things to say, no, we can't do that, Ask them to write a letter to the courts to get my stuff released. We can't do that. It's the courts. It's Cambodian law.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was so paranoid at that stage that I was just going to get a knock any time. You know, I didn't want to go outside, but then I felt unsafe inside. And then you'd see police officers, you hear sirens, you'd hear bangings. You hear a banging door, and you could just remind you of a jail door closing. The bars closing. Yeah, triggers, heaps of triggers.
How did you eventually get your passport back?
The lawyer finally got it back.
Yeah.
And then pretty much after that was when I laughed, because you're thinking, okay, I've got my passport, I've got my luggage. By this stage, I'd moved out of that apartment. So we get to immigration, and I've got my passport. I've got my luggage. I go into immigration, and he looks at the paperwork, and he says, "You've overstayed your visa by X amount of months." I said, "I understand that. I've been in jail. Here's the paperwork for the, you know." And he goes, and then there's an extra 3 months. Your law, Cambodian law, you know, where you
I wasn't allowed to leave.
Yeah, I wasn't allowed to leave. And then he sits down and he's talking to her, the solicitor and lawyer. Talking to her, they've come up with this agreement that I should be paying. I think it was either $15 or $20 for every day I'd overstayed my visa. So and then he goes, "Look, forget," and they're talking. Nothing. I can't understand what they're saying. And then he goes, "Look, how about we square this up $5,000 US?" No, I just looked at him and I said, "Mate, I don't have any money."
Yeah.
And then he kind of understood a little bit and the body language. And then they've started going again, and then he's gone down to 2,500. And I said, "Listen, I told you I don't have any money." And then he started getting angry. And he says, "Well, I want receipts. You show me where you spent all this money." I said, "Well, I just started naming names, you know, who didn't get a bribe."
Yeah.
Basically, it was how it was, you know. Everyone got a bribe, you know. So, and then he couldn't handle any more of it, and he just went, "Get out, get out." So, and I think that was the last time I saw my solicitor too. I'm pretty sure that was the last communication I had with her ever. But I'm still stuck in Cambodia. Yeah. Like I said, Cambodia it keeps you there. You can't get out. You know, it traps you there. So then the next time I'm speaking to the embassy again, saying, "Listen, deport me. I want out." They're going, "Well, this is before I'd got my passport back." Yeah. They were saying, "We can't deport you. We know where your passport is. It's in the courts." I'm saying, "Well, just get me a new passport. Can't you just do that? Yeah. Can't I just sneak over the border? Can't I do any of this stuff?" They said, "We don't advise it. You know, if you get caught, you're going back to jail." And I'm glad I didn't. Yeah. But in the same token, when I heard that I had to stay another 3 months, that was one of the times that nearly broke me, and I nearly took my own life. Yeah. I was looking for places to jump. I found myself in a state where I was checking door handles of the top floor of the apartment building to see if I could get on the rooftop. Okay. Yeah.
And you think that the culmination of it, you just had nothing left?
Nothing left in the tank, nothing left mentally. You know, I was done. Yeah.
You're broken, man.
Broken, but very much so a broken man. Yeah. I've sat in front of my trauma counsellor and broken down many times, and that's one of the terms I've used. I just feel like a broken person. I feel like sometimes I feel like it'd be better if I wasn't around, you know, because I don't know what I can give. I don't know what I've got to offer. She reminds me I've got a lot to, you know, give and offer, and it keeps me going.
And then, you know, you're getting advice from experts, so, you know, take what I say with a grain of salt, but there's total respect there too, what you've got through. A lot of people wouldn't have got through, and you talk about shame and disappointment of all these different things. Mate, you survived something that I reckon 90% of people wouldn't survive.
Well, it blows my mind. I lost my mum.
Yeah.
My relationship broke down, and then I end up in that position.
Yeah.
One of those three can knock people around pretty badly, and I got all three of them. Like, my mum died in front of me. Yeah. I was doing CPR on my mum with the mobile phone, with the loudspeaker on, with the lady counting in to do the compressions until the ambulance drivers got there. You know, this is how it unfolded. There was that, and the relationship came to breaking down. Yeah. Then I went on this holiday and ended up in a Cambodian prison, and not in the space of a long time.
Okay, so you're dealing with so much.
Well, yeah. I don't know how I've done it, but again.
Well, you're doing it one step at a time, and keep moving forward.
I mean, I had beatings too where I couldn't count in Kamai. The guard, because you're doing prison counts, you come up with a big set of old keys, and just smash you in the back of the head.
Because you didn't know the number you were in the line.
I can't even remember. I try to forget.
Yeah.
I used to be able to count to 10. But yeah, he'd just do that. Things like that. Or, but yeah, getting back on. So I then went to the embassy again and said, listen, this is what's going on. They're trying to, this is wrong. You told me 3 more months I had to stay here. I did the 3 months and now they're trying to tell me that I've got to pay, because I've overstayed my visa. This is wrong. What are you going to do about it? And it got to the point where I had to physically go down there myself, go into that office and say, listen, there are no receipts. I want to be deported. I wanted to be deported now. And I was at that point where I didn't care what happened anymore. Yeah. You get to a point
reckless.
Where, a reckless abandon, if you want to call it, where you're screaming at the top of your lungs. People are in there just going, what's going on here? I want to be fucking deported. I want to be deported right now. Because the immigration office is literally just across the road from the international airport. 2 guys come in with guns, right? Grab me, pull me out, which was probably a good thing. Pull me out, say, down there is the police station. You go down there and you tell them what you're saying, okay? Because they look after the people who are getting deported, and they've got to stay in that cell for a month.
Right.
So I get down there all fired up, and then something clicks in me, and I'm like, I've just got to remain calm now. I got out of that situation when I didn't think I was going.
No, it sounds like you're very lucky.
Lucky, yeah.
That situation.
Very lucky. Like that guy could have just gone, right, police, take him,
Back inside.
But he sent me to a police station, but it's also to do with, immigration and stuff as well. So anyway, I've gone down and seen him. I've told him, look, I've showed him my paper. I had all the paperwork there as well. That's something I couldn't understand. So he could speak fairly decent English, this one guy, right?
Yeah.
But I was upset. I was physically shaking. I was crying. And he's looking at me, and like, when you're that emotional, he'd start saying stuff to me and I'd start cutting him off. And he'd say, listen, do you want me to help you or not? You want me to help you or not? He said, because usually I'd put you in that cell, you'd be in that cell for a month before you get deported. And that's the last thing I needed. So anyways, and then he's got my passport, which I was shitting myself about, because the last time someone had my passport, I was in prison, right? They didn't give it back. He's got that. He's put me up against a wall with a sign, with the, I don't even know what it says.
What it said, holding your sign up.
Yeah. Like I was back at the start in the airport, with all the pictures of all the deals and stuff stuck up the back, making me look like I was a drug dealer or something,
That would have freaked you out.
It did. Oh, mate, and I wrote about it. I said I had to trust him, even though every part of me said don't. He had my life in his hands at that stage. I was so powerless, so powerless that if he'd have taken it one direction, then, he could have said, oh yeah, he's caught a scene down there, give him another 6 months or a year or whatever, sort him out, But then there was all these other guys, and they're all asking me questions: where you from, what are you doing, why are you in prison? Some of them could talk a bit of English. I guess it goes with immigration. They must have to know a little bit more English to understand. Like they can speak to Indians and so forth, because they all speak English as well. And there was an Indian bloke funnily enough, in the detention centre there while waiting to get out. And then he goes, right, what I need from you, how quickly can you get a plane ticket? So I can get it tomorrow. He goes, right. And then he gave me an email address, and he said, and I lied and said that the embassy sent me down here. I had to.
Oh.
Mate, but that was the other thing. If he caught onto that, the game was up, and you know, the embassy said to come down here to speak to you, you know, about this.
I'd put it in the little
after
white
going,
lie.
yeah, after going up, being up there, you know, and them just sending me down. So obviously there was no communication through those two different entities or whatever. I don't know, or maybe that's what happened later with the car door. Bit of retribution for that, you know. But so anyways, I said I can get it tomorrow. I can get a letter from the embassy, which I did, to say, you know, well they photocopied because he says email it to me, and I didn't want to do that. I said, no mate, I'll do you one better. I'll get a photocopy of the flights.
Yeah.
I'll hand it to you. I'll get 3 copies, one for me, one for you, and one for the embassy. And so I get down there, and I get down there as early as possible because traffic's bad and stuff like that. And with my luggage, with my passport, and things just weren't seeming right, you know. And you know, you're meant to be on a flight, an international flight. What is it? 3 hours before you're meant to be at the airport.
Get there.
2 hours to go, and I'm asking, you know, do we need to get going across the road there? And then, they're all getting dressed up in their military outfits, like those head honchos at the prison. They're all in their black. They look like they're a khaki with all their medals and their black shiny shoes and the black rimmed.
I can picture what you're describing.
And they're very proud, you know. And then there's a police car there, the one that we're going in, and he goes, put your hand on there, like to get in, and he just slams the door straight on it. Bang. There you go.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Jesus.
That's a spiral fracture.
Yeah, I can
The other fingers got in there as well, but that one got the brunt of it. Blood everywhere.
So just he told you to put your hand there and then deliberately slammed the door.
Yeah, but as I was getting in, so he's strategically done it, but he's just gone bushka. And it was no accident because then the cane came out. He started caning me. And another guy started caning me, like with a piece of, you know, that you get in the school. For massive welts all over my back, you know.
Yeah.
And I think one of the ways that it was disguised is because I was covered in so many other things, scabies and golden staph, you know.
Yeah.
And then
you would have looked a picture of health.
Oh, mate, I got to, you know, it was a half an hour before we went over there, and they marched me in luggage. I didn't think, you know, there was 2 things concerning me when I picked my luggage up from the court, because it had been there a long, long time, that they might have sewn something into it. I had presents for my son and stepdaughter and all this at the time, right? They were all taken, all of it. The only thing they didn't take was a C and Reap T-shirt with a picture of Angkor Wat on it, because that would be bad for them to do, you know. But
Jesus, I think they've got karma coming at them in some way.
Yeah, well, they just I don't know. They use religion when they want to.
Yeah.
You know, with the Buddhism, like I thought Buddhists were meant to be peaceful, and I said to one, I copped a beating for that too. Buddha's watching you. Buddha's watching you.
So you got a bashing?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Got a bashing for trying to save someone's life as well, you know, performing CPR on them.
Yeah.
And they said, let him die. I was screaming out for the guards. They never come, you know. Yeah. And then my finger's bleeding everywhere. He's put a bit of tape around it, tissue and a bit of tape, put me on the plane. And it felt like an eternity sitting on that tarmac.
Waiting for it to take
I just
off.
thought they were going to come back, walking back on, you know, which they could have done, because it's almost like they're the military, the police over there.
Yeah.
They've got the same power, pretty much, you know. The king of Cambodia doesn't really do anything. It's the prime minister who's got all the power. And anyways, but we took off when I get to Thailand, and thankfully they had a hospital in the airport, which they could clean it up, and because I was worried about disease and, you know, just the fact that the stuff in the air, it just breeds bacteria, you know, very quickly, and they fixed that up. And then I was stuck in Thai airport for 20 hours, still walking around in my ratty old clothes, you know, because everything in the bag that wasn't stolen was filthy.
Yeah.
You know, it'd been there over a year.
But I could imagine from what you've come from, it was probably luxury.
I was going into, you know, where you can go and use the testers.
Yeah.
Doing that because I was stinking. And I was,
Yeah.
you know, filthy. You know, and my feet were filthy. I had a pair of ratty old thongs on. I landed in Sydney Airport, and it was freezing, absolutely freezing. I had a pair of shorts, t-shirt, and thongs on.
Who was here to meet you?
No one. I had to get I had to get the plane up to the Gold Coast.
Right.
And the funny story is that because I hadn't drank in such a long, long time, these old rock and rollers get on at Sydney, right? And wearing their sunglasses and long scraggly hair.
Yeah.
And then this guy gets on with the aviators and the long curly hair. I can smell him coming from the front of the plane. I can smell the whiskey on him and the cigarettes.
Right, yeah.
It was Dave Gleeson out of the Screaming Jets.
Oh, right.
And so I had him sitting somewhere close to me and then a Titans footy player sitting directly across from me. I think it might have been foreign, actually. And then when I got off the plane, I always promised myself this. I got off the plane.
Yeah.
I literally went down. I was at the back, getting off the back, down the stairs, and kissed the ground. And he's looked at me and gone, "What's going on there?" I said, "Mate, don't even ask." Just got up, got into the airport, waiting for my luggage, and I saw my ex-partner, and you could see the look on her face.
Yeah.
She hugged me, but you could see the look on her face. She couldn't believe how much weight I'd lost.
Yeah.
I was skin and bone, and I was covered in. I'm surprised she wanted to hug me.
Yeah, you would have looked a picture.
I was down to 45 kilos or something. Really gaunt in the face, ribs sticking out everywhere, and it took me a long time to get any appetite back.
Yeah.
You know, I couldn't eat.
How your health? You would have got your health checked out. Diseases.
Yeah, I had to.
How'd you scrub up with any?
Well, I had every blood test done for every STD.
Yep.
All come back negative, thankfully.
Right. Yeah.
I had a lot of genital warts and things like that. I had to get burnt off. And then, you know, the scabies and stuff, and the golden staph was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Like it took a long time with tablets, ointments that you weren't just putting, dabbing, it was everywhere.
Yeah.
And for weeks my face took the longest to clear up. I don't know why, but it was maybe a good month and a half before I seen any results. It was that bad, you know, and just the weight as well. Like it was scary, like, and I just couldn't eat, but you know, it's not just because it's over. It's never over.
No, you're describing the physical repairing of yourself, but I would imagine there's a mental and emotional scarring there.
Oh, I can't work at the moment at all. Everything triggers my traumas. Everything. Like I can't have people sitting behind me. I can see people out of the corners of my eyes. Yeah. You know, always can see. Constantly worried about noises. It just triggers anxiety as well. It triggers trauma. You know, just so many different things. Like I can't sleep at night. The nightmares are some of the worst things I've ever had in my life. Like especially, you know, reoccurring nightmares, the rape, for example. When I was saying to you before about, you know, I've never felt a sensation in a dream before or a smell. I can still feel that cold, damp floor on the side of my face when my head was pushed down into the concrete while I was being attacked, sexually assaulted. The smell of the sewer. Looking at the filthy, crevice of a white wall, you know, picturing that, like just trying to, like I said, trying to not think about what was happening to me. But those, it's almost like a still shot, but in a movie, like shots of a movie. It's not good. It's not good, and it's going to take a long time to get right.
What type of services are available to you?
Well, I see a psychiatrist every fortnight, and I see a sexual trauma counsellor every week. But, you know, look, when I first got back too, after I spent the first week...
How long have you been back now?
It's about 6.5 months, I think.
Okay, yeah.
But when I first got back to every service and it was very hard because, you know, they deal with a lot of people coming out of prison in Australia, but they don't deal with a lot of people coming from overseas. And so they just didn't know how to deal with me and put me to someone else. And you got to understand, my trauma levels are so high, my anxiety levels are so high that it's going in one ear, coming out the other. I'll go and see these people. I must have met 20 people.
Yeah.
All different, abbreviated PhDs, this, that, the other, you know. Couldn't remember half of them. I was writing them down, still couldn't remember. I was getting bombarded, but they just moved me on. And moved me on and moved me on and moved me on to another agency. Couldn't deal with it. Then I got to like housing places to sort out some temporary accommodation. They asked me the wrong questions, so I fell through the cracks there. One of the ladies from Safe Haven said a very poignant thing. She said, it's like you've just been plucked from Mars and been chucked straight back on Earth. Yeah. You're just an alien. You know, how you dealing with all this, like everything, your sensory overload coming from you everywhere, and then some temporary accommodation is not ideal, and you stay there and it just triggers trauma. Yeah. Because of other people there that have got other issues themselves, you know. So it's not been easy. I've been living in my car at times. You know, good. It's not good, no. So, you know, I think today, I mean, there's so much more we could discuss about things. But I really want people to understand that be very cautious when you go overseas. That you might be just crossing a road and someone runs a moped into your leg and goes, you were drunk, calls the police up, you get arrested. That's how there was people in the Cambodian prison that they were set up, you know. They just fleece them for money because they're European or whatever. Just be very mindful about that. And, you know, that don't think that because you're an Australian citizen that there's someone there to help you either.
Yeah, we're naive, aren't we?
Yeah.
Like I think of all the third world countries I've travelled in, the stupid stuff you do when you're travelling or the risks you take. And, yeah. Most
importantly, I hope it puts a real strong light on the fact that you could be in any situation and end up in prison. Yeah. And that's what happened to me. Like, I did nothing wrong. And I've had one hell of a time, you know.
Oh, it's such an important message. And when our mutual friend got in contact with me and told me a little bit about your story, and then started reading documents you had, it just blew me away. And obviously here on I Catch Killers, we have people who've done a lot of time in prison for a variety of crimes. But I think this is an example of how something so innocuous can turn into just change your life. But I also want to make the point that the courage for you to come out and talk about this, because I can see how sometimes it might be your inclination. I just want to walk away from it. I don't want to know about it. I want to try and forget it. But my way of viewing the way that you're approaching this, you're taking it on, acknowledging it, not letting it break you, and you're moving forward. And I keep coming back to it because I'm just thinking, and I think anyone that's listened to this podcast would be wondering, how would I react in that situation that you found yourself in? Would I survive? I don't know. Like, that was hardcore where you found yourself in.
It's funny how you can find resilience in the places that you don't know where you've got them. You know, I just, again, there was times where I didn't think I was going to make it, to be honest. I had to think about my son. Yeah. You know, he's the one. And if it wasn't for my ex-partner, you know, sending that money, I mean, there's many factors that kept me alive.
Yeah.
You know, but they were the two main ones. She saved my life.
Yeah.
You know, I'm forever eternally grateful for her for that. Yeah.
Well, you talked about another Aussie bloke that was over there, and he had a long sentence, and you don't know what's happened to him.
No.
Yeah.
And I don't see that the Australian Embassy would be able to do anything to help him there.
Yeah.
And I'd be very surprised whether he's still alive or not. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you just, if you've got no money, you've got no chance. And that's the bottom line, you know. And if you get sick, you die. You're constantly battling those things, you know, like I just can't get sick, you know, like.
It's tiptoeing through a minefield.
It is. And then you got people coming at you wanting to attack you, rape you, kill you. Pedophiles all around as well. Like I didn't even touch on those kind of guys I met.
Yeah.
They were just, mate, there's some of the stuff that they did to young kids. Like that. There was this guy came into the cell on the very first day that he got into prison, tried to commit suicide. Jumped off the roof, climbed up on the roof and jumped on the razor wire. His name was Stefan.
Yeah.
He's from Switzerland. So I was in the hospital at this time. So he's been stitched up like he's, you know, but he stayed in our room.
Yeah.
Now, before when I was telling you about those two guys who worked at the hospital, they also got the charge sheet. So they could tell, when I walked in there, they get like, oh, you're the ATM guy.
Okay, so they get fed to them.
Yeah. Because they can't speak very decent English or, you know, English very well. I was almost like the conduit between Stefan and, because he could speak 5 languages, this guy.
Yeah.
And all the pedophiles always had the same thing as well. They'd all blame the NGO. The NGOs are people who come in and say, listen, you're in trouble, you know. So I've been read what this guy's done. So he was with this woman who had 6 kids to 6 different fellas. She's an ice addict.
Yep.
Cambodian woman. He's living with her. He's prostituting these children out to men that were coming to the house. I think the oldest was 10.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the youngest was 4. Boys and girls, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm having to sit there and try and speak to this guy. And, you know, as you know, the podcast I mentioned many times, we've got a son, and he was 4 at the time. And they're very, what I learn about the pedophiles in the time that I spent with them in prison is they're master manipulators. They'll turn everything back on you.
That's how they
deflect all the time. They deflect. They'll turn the conversation to something else. Like the NGO was a perfect example. Oh, they've been trying to catch me. You know, it's the corruption and this and that and the other. And, you know, sure, it might go on, but with that, something like that, you know, where, things like that and having to deal with those guys. That guy was in my cell for, you know, and because he had money, they left him alone, you know. And then he started manipulating people in the cell because there was always 6 or 7 people that were regulars in that cell, me included. And he started manipulating, you know, people and, you know, like he's. And then as soon as he got better, first thing he did was side up with this American guy who'd been doing whatever he'd been doing too, kitty fiddling. Just horrific stuff.
There's levels of that just keep stooping down, isn't it? In a prison like that. Well, yeah, and as you've told me, and in all the conversations that we've had, there's so many stories, and I've only drawn on a small part of it. The document we've been referring to as a narrative that you wrote down. I read it and I was blown away. And as I said to you, I was reading another book in prep for a guest coming on the podcast, and this was sent to me by a mutual friend. And I started reading, and I didn't put it down because it was just so heavy in what's there. So an amazing story, and I've just got to say, in finishing up, yeah, I don't think you should feel shame. I think you should be proud of the fact that you survived a situation that most people wouldn't.
Thank you, Gary. I appreciate that. I really do.
All the best. All the best for the future.
Thanks,
you deserve
mate.
a good future.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.